What if one single verse, just a few words from the Quran, had the power to completely transform how you see your life? What if the confusion you feel right now, the heaviness in your chest, the questions that keep you awake at night, all of it could begin to make sense through one simple reminder from Allah? Just pause for a moment and really think about that. Because sometimes, the biggest changes don't come from long speeches or complicated answers. They come from a single truth that reaches your heart at the right time. There are moments in life when everything feels unclear. You wake up without direction, you move through your day without purpose, and deep inside, there's a quiet emptiness you can't explain. You might smile in front of people, but when you're alone, your thoughts become louder. You question where you're going, why things are happening the way they are, and whether your life is truly meaningful. Maybe you've felt lost, like you're walking on a path without signs. You try to move forward, but every step feels uncertain. You look at others and it seems like they have everything figured out, while you're still searching for answers. That feeling of being stuck, of not knowing what's next, can weigh heavily on your heart. And sometimes, it's not just confusion, it's pain. Things didn't go the way you planned. You made dua, you had hope, but the outcome wasn't what you expected. Doors closed, people left, opportunities slipped away, and now you're left wondering, why? Why would Allah allow this to happen if He knows how much it hurts? There's also that quiet struggle within, the battle between your faith and your feelings. You believe in Allah, you know He is there, but sometimes your heart feels distant. Your Iman goes up and down, and you don't always feel that connection you wish you had. You want peace, but it feels just out of reach. In these moments, your mind starts asking deeper questions. What is my purpose? Why am I here? Is there a bigger plan, or am I just going through life without direction? These questions are not signs of weakness. They are signs that your soul is searching for truth. And that search is what brings you closer to understanding. Now imagine this. What if the answer you've been searching for isn't far away? What if it's not hidden in complicated explanations or unreachable ideas? What if it has been there all along, in the words of the Quran, waiting for you to truly reflect on it? The Quran is not just a book to be read, it's a message to be felt. Every verse carries meaning, but some verses hit differently when your heart is ready. They speak directly to your situation, your emotions, your struggles. It's as if Allah is responding to what you're going through, personally. And there is one verse, short, simple, easy to remember, but incredibly powerful. A verse that has the ability to shift your mindset, to calm your heart, and to give meaning to everything you're experiencing right now. It doesn't erase your problems instantly, but it changes how you see them. Because sometimes, the problem is not the situation itself, it's how we understand it. When your perspective changes, everything begins to feel different. The same struggle that once felt like a burden starts to feel like a test with purpose. The same pain begins to carry meaning. This verse doesn't just give comfort, it gives clarity. It reminds you that your life is not random. Your struggles are not pointless. Your pain is not unnoticed. Every moment you go through is known by Allah, and nothing is happening without a reason. So before we even reveal this verse, take a moment to open your heart. Let go of distractions. Be, not just with your mind, but with your soul. Because this is not just about hearing words, it's about allowing those words to reach a place inside you that truly needs healing. As you listen, don't just think about what is being said, think about your life. Your struggles, your questions, your pain, your hopes. Because this verse is not distant from you. It is meant for you. And now, by the end moment of this, you've been waiting you may begin to see your life in a way you never did before. Powerful. It has the ability to change the way you see everything in your life. Allah says, and whoever puts their trust in Allah, He is sufficient for them. Listen to that again, slowly, deeply, and let it settle in your heart. And whoever puts their trust in Allah, not just believes, not just says it, but truly places their trust, their fears, their worries, their future, in the hands of Allah. This is not something said lightly. This is a state of the heart. It means letting go of the illusion that you are in control, and accepting that the one who created you knows exactly what is best for you. Pause for a moment and really think about that. What does it mean to trust Allah in your life? When things go wrong, when plans fall apart, when you don't understand what's happening, do you still trust Him? Or does doubt slowly take over your heart? Then Allah continues, He is sufficient for them. Sufficient, enough, complete, meaning that when you truly rely on Allah, you don't need to fear what you're facing. You don't need to be overwhelmed by uncertainty. Because the one you are relying on controls everything, every outcome, every delay, every door that opens and closes. Let that sink in. If Allah is sufficient for you, then what are you really worried about? The stress you carry, the fear of the future, the pain of the present, what if all of it could feel lighter, simply by understanding this one truth? That Allah is enough, not people, not outcomes, not the things you're chasing, only Him. But here is the real question, and be honest with yourself as you listen. Do you truly believe this? Not just with your tongue, but with your heart? Because it's easy to say, I trust Allah, when everything is going well. But real trust, true tawakkul, shows itself when life becomes difficult. When things don't make sense. When you're standing in the middle of uncertainty with no clear direction. In those moments, your heart reveals what it truly depends on. Think about your current situation. The thing that's been weighing on you lately. The worry that keeps coming back. The question you don't have an answer to. Have you really placed it in Allah's hands? Or are you still trying to carry it all by yourself? This ayah is not just a statement, it's an invitation. An invitation to let go of what is exhausting your heart, and to trust the one who never fails. An invitation to shift from fear to reliance, from anxiety from confusion to clarity. And the beauty of it is this. Allah is not asking you to have everything figured out. He is not asking you to control every outcome. He is only asking you to trust Him. Because when you do, He promises that He will be enough for you. Enough in your pain, enough in your uncertainty, enough in your journey. So as you sit here listening, don't just hear this ayah. Feel it, reflect on it, ask yourself honestly, what would change in my life if I truly believed that Allah is sufficient for me? Because that belief can change everything. To truly understand the power of this verse, we need to slow down and reflect on the words within it, because every word carries a depth that goes far beyond what we hear at the surface. The first key idea is tawakkul, placing your trust in Allah. But tawakkul is not just saying, I trust Allah, while your heart is still full of fear and doubt. It is a complete reliance, a deep inner surrender where you accept that Allah is in control of every outcome. It means you do your part, you make your effort, but your heart is not attached to the result. It is attached to Allah. Tawakkul is when you plan, but you are not shattered when things don't go your way. It is when you make dua, but you also accept that Allah's answer may come differently than you expected. It is when you remain steady, even when your situation is not. Many people misunderstand this. They think trusting Allah means doing nothing, but that is not tawakkul. Tawakkul is tying your camel and then trusting Allah. It is effort combined with surrender. You move forward in life, but your heart rests with Allah, not with outcomes. Now reflect on the second part. He is sufficient for them. This word, sufficient, is powerful. It means that Allah alone is enough to handle your affairs, enough to support you, enough to protect you, enough to guide you. It means that even if everything around you feels uncertain, you are not actually lacking anything, because you have Allah. Think about how often we look for enough in other things. We think if we had more money, more stability, more approval from people, then we would feel secure. But this ayah shifts that entire mindset. It tells you that your sense of security should not come from creation, it should come from the Creator. And this is where everything changes. Because when Allah becomes enough for you, the things you once feared start to lose their power. Rejection doesn't break you the same way. Delays don't frustrate you the same way. Uncertainty doesn't scare you the same way. Why? Because you are no longer dependent on those things. This is why this ayah is not just about belief, it is about mindset. A way of seeing life. A way of interpreting everything that happens to you. When you truly live by this verse, you begin to understand that nothing in your life is random. Every delay, every hardship is part of a plan that Allah is managing perfectly. To make this easier to understand, think about a child with their parent. When a child is scared, confused, or unsure, they run to their parent. They don't sit there trying to figure everything out on their own. They trust that their parent will take care of them, protect them, and guide them. Even if the child doesn't understand what's happening, they feel safe, because they trust who is in control. Now think about this. If a child can have that level of trust in a human being, then what about your trust in Allah? The one who created you, who knows your past, your present, and your future, who controls every outcome and every detail of your life. Shouldn't that trust be even deeper? But the reality is, many of us trust people more than we trust Allah. We rely on what we can see, and we struggle to fully rely on the one we cannot see. And that is exactly what this ayah is teaching us to change. It is teaching you to shift your dependence, from people to Allah, from outcomes to the one who controls outcomes, from fear to trust. And when that shift happens, something beautiful takes place inside your heart. You begin to feel a sense of peace that doesn't depend on your situation. Even if life is still difficult, your heart becomes lighter. Even if answers haven't come yet, your feels calm. Because you know, deep down, that Allah is enough. And when Allah is truly enough for you, you are never truly lost. Now bring this ayah into your real life, into the situations that are actually weighing on your heart right now. Because this verse is not meant to stay as a concept, it is meant to be lived, especially in the moments that feel the hardest. Think about financial stress, the pressure of bills, responsibilities, expectations. That constant worry, what if I don't have enough? What if things get worse? You plan, you try, you work hard, but deep inside, there is still fear. Fear of losing stability, fear of not being able to provide, fear of the unknown. And without realizing it, your heart becomes tied to numbers, to income, to outcomes. But this ayah gently shifts your focus. It reminds you that your was never in your hands to begin with. You make effort, but the one who provides is Allah. So why does your heart feel like everything depends on you? Then think about broken relationships. The pain of someone leaving, the silence after words that were never resolved, the heaviness of memories that still linger. You replay moments in your mind, wondering what you could have done differently. You try to fix what's already broken, or you hold on to something that Allah has already taken away. And it hurts deeply, but this ayah speaks even here. It tells you that when people leave, when things fall apart, when hearts break, Allah remains. And if Allah is enough for you, then even in loss, you are not empty. Even in heartbreak, you are not alone. Now think about the anxiety you carry about the future. The constant, what if, thoughts. What if things don't work out? What if I fail? What if I make the wrong decision? Your mind keeps running ahead, trying to control outcomes that haven't even happened yet. And this is where the weight becomes overwhelming. Because you are trying to carry something you were never meant to control. This ayah comes to release that burden. It tells you something simple, but powerful. You don't have to control everything. You don't have to have all the answers. You don't have to figure out every step before you take it. Because Allah is sufficient for you. Right now, many of us are living in a state of constant tension. We hold on tightly to plans, to expectations, to people, to outcomes, as if letting go means everything will fall apart. But the truth is, holding on like this is what's exhausting your heart. You're trying to control everything. Every detail, every result, every possibility, and it's too heavy. This ayah is not telling you to stop trying. It's telling you to stop carrying what doesn't belong to you. It's telling you to do your part, and then let go of the rest. To trust that Allah is already handling what you cannot see. Letting go does not mean giving up. It means trusting. It means accepting that Allah's plan is bigger than your understanding. It means believing that even when things don't go your way, they are still going in the right way. Imagine how different your life would feel if you truly lived by this. If your heart didn't panic every time something went wrong. If your mind didn't overthink every possible outcome. If you could face uncertainty with a quiet confidence that Allah is taking care of you. That is the peace this ayah is in you toward. Because when you truly let go, you don't lose control. You finally find peace. Even after hearing this ayah, even after understanding its meaning, there is still a part of the heart that hesitates. A quiet resistance. A question that keeps coming back. What if things don't work out? You hear that Allah is sufficient for you, but your mind immediately jumps to your fears. What if I try and still fail? What if I trust, and things still fall apart? What if the outcome hurts more than I can handle? These questions don't come because you are weak, they come because you are human. You want certainty. You want to see the path clearly before you walk it. You want guarantees that everything will be okay. But tawakkul does not come with visible guarantees. It comes with unseen trust. And that is where the struggle begins. Because we are used to relying on what we can see. We trust money because we can count it. We trust people because we can hear them. We trust plans because we can organize them. But trusting Allah requires something deeper. It requires believing without seeing. It requires handing over your fears to the one who is unseen, yet fully in control. And this is exactly where Shaitan begins to whisper. He doesn't always come with loud, obvious thoughts. Sometimes his whispers are quiet, almost logical. Be careful, don't trust too much. What if you regret this? What if this doesn't work out? What if you're left with nothing? Slowly, those whispers plant seeds of doubt. And before you realize it, your heart begins to hold back. You start saying, I trust Allah, but only to a certain point. You keep a part of your reliance on your own control, your own plans, your own expectations. Because letting go completely feels scary. It feels like stepping into the unknown without a safety net. But here is the truth we often avoid: what we call control is mostly an illusion. You were never fully in control of your life to begin with. The outcomes you're trying so hard to manage were always in Allah's hands. Yet somehow, we find it easier to trust our limited control than to trust Allah's perfect plan. Think about that for a moment. We trust our calculations, even though they can be wrong. We trust people, even though they can leave. We trust plans, even though they can fail. But when it comes to Allah, the one who never fails, never forgets, never loses control, we hesitate. There is a painful irony in this. We trust everything except the one who controls everything. And this is not just a statement, it's a reality many of us are living. We say we believe, but our hearts are still filled with. We make dua, but we still feel like everything depends on us. We hear the ayah, but we struggle to fully live it. And that inner conflict is exhausting. Because your tongue says, Allah is enough, but your heart is still holding on to fear. Your mind keeps running scenarios, imagining worst-case outcomes, preparing for failure before it even happens. What if I fail? That question alone has stopped so many people from moving forward. It has kept people stuck, afraid to take steps, afraid to trust the process. But what does failure even mean when Allah is sufficient for you? If something doesn't go your way, does that mean Allah abandoned you? Or does it mean He redirected you? If a door closes, does it mean you lost? Or does it mean you were protected? These are the questions that shift your understanding. Because when you truly believe that Allah is enough, you stop measuring your life only by outcomes. You start seeing beyond the surface. You begin to trust that even what looks like failure may carry hidden mercy. But reaching that level of trust is not instant. It's a journey, a constant effort to quiet the whispers, to challenge your doubts, to remind your heart again and again: Allah is enough. And maybe right now, you're not fully there yet. Maybe you still feel afraid. Maybe you still question. Maybe you still hold on tightly to control. And that's okay, because even acknowledging this struggle is the first step toward real tawakkul. At this point, you might still be wondering, what does real trust actually look like? Not just in words, but in reality. What does it mean to rely on Allah when everything around you says there is no way forward? To understand this, we don't need theories. We need examples, real moments from history where people stood in situations that looked completely impossible, yet trusted Allah anyway. Think about Prophet Ibrahim, as he was thrown into a fire. Not a small flame, not something symbolic, a massive fire, so intense that no one could even come close to it. The people wanted to destroy him completely. From every angle, there was no escape, no strategy, no solution. Put yourself in that moment. What would you feel if you were standing there, surrounded by people who want to harm you, with a fire in front of you that guarantees destruction? But in that moment, Ibrahim, did not panic. He did not lose faith. His heart was firm. He placed his trust completely in Allah. And what happened next? When there was no way, Allah made a way. The fire, which should have burned him, was commanded by Allah to become cool and safe. Not reduced, not avoided, completely transformed. The same thing that was meant to destroy him became a means of protection. Now think about Prophet Musa, as he was standing at the edge of the sea, with his people behind him. In front of him, water. Behind him, an army approaching, ready to capture or kill them. There was no visible escape, no path forward, no time to think. The people around him panicked. They said, "We are going to be overtaken." In that moment, fear was everywhere. And yet, Musa, said something powerful: "No. My Lord is with me. He will guide me." Notice this. He didn't know how. He didn't see a path. There was no visible solution in front of him. But he trusted anyway. And then, Allah commanded him to strike the sea. And the sea split, not a small opening, not something barely enough to pass through. A clear path, right in the middle of what seemed impossible. Again, when there was no way, Allah made a way. These are not just stories to admire. They are lessons for you. Because maybe right now, you feel like you're standing in your own version of that situation. Maybe your fire is a problem that feels like it will consume you. Maybe your sea is a barrier you don't know how to cross. Maybe you're surrounded by pressure, fear, uncertainty, and you don't see a way out. And that's exactly the point. In both of these moments, the solution did not exist until trust came first. Allah did not show the outcome before their trust. The trust came first, and then the opened. This is what we struggle with. We want to see the path before we trust. We want guarantees before we let go. We want clarity before we believe. But Allah teaches us the opposite. Trust first, then watch how He creates a way you could never imagine. Because the same Allah who saved Ibrahim, as, from the fire, and opened the sea for Musa, as, is the same Allah you are being asked to trust today. Your situation may feel impossible, but impossible is only what we see. Allah sees everything beyond it. So ask yourself, what would happen if you trusted Allah the way they did? Because when that level of trust enters your heart, even the impossible begins to change. At this point, it's important to understand something very subtle, but incredibly powerful about this ayah. Because many people misunderstand it in a way that weakens their trust instead of strengthening it. Allah does not promise you instant results. He does not promise that the moment you trust Him, everything will immediately fall into place. He does not say that every dua will be answered exactly how and when you expect. He does not say that life will suddenly become easy, predictable, or free of hardship. And this is where many hearts struggle. Because deep down, we attach our trust to outcomes. We think, if I trust Allah, then things should go my way. And when they don't, we feel confused. We start questioning. We wonder if our trust was not enough. But look carefully at the ayah again. Allah does not promise outcomes. He promises sufficiency. And whoever puts their trust in Allah, He is sufficient for them. This changes everything. Because sufficiency does not mean you will get everything you want. It means you will always have what you need. It means that even if the outcome is different from your expectations, you will not be abandoned. You will not be left empty. You will not be left without support. Sometimes, the very thing you are asking for is not good for you. And that is difficult to accept. Because from your perspective, it feels right. It feels necessary. It feels like the solution to your problems. You want it so badly that you begin to believe your peace depends on it. But Allah sees what you cannot see. He knows what will harm you, even if it looks good on the surface. He knows what will benefit you, even if it feels painful in the moment. His knowledge is complete, yours is limited, and this is where true trust becomes real. It is easy to trust when Allah gives you what you want. But can you trust Him when He doesn't? Can you still believe that He is sufficient for you, even when the outcome is not what you hoped for? This is the deeper level of tawakkul. To understand that sometimes, what you want is not what you need. You may want a certain job, but Allah knows it would have led you away from. You may want a certain person, but Allah knows they would have broken you in ways you cannot imagine. You may want a certain outcome, but Allah knows it would have taken away something far greater from your life. So He delays, or He redirects, or He removes it completely. Not to punish you, but to protect you. And in those moments, it doesn't feel like protection. It feels like loss. It feels like confusion. It feels like unanswered, but what you are seeing is only a small part of the picture. This ayah invites you to trust beyond what you can see. To believe that Allah's sufficiency is not limited to giving you what you ask for. It is in giving you what is best for you. Even if it doesn't look like it at first. And when you begin to understand this, your entire mindset shifts. You stop measuring your life only by what you receive. You begin to value what you are protected from. You start to see delays as preparation, not denial. You begin to see loss as redirection, not abandonment. Because if Allah is truly sufficient for you, then nothing that misses you is meant for you. And nothing that reaches you could have ever missed you. So the next time something doesn't go your way, pause. Instead of asking, why didn't I get what I wanted? Ask yourself, what is Allah protecting me from? What is He preparing me for? Because sometimes, what you want, is not what you need. And what Allah chooses for you, is always enough. As powerful as this ayah is, many people fall into a misunderstanding that quietly weakens their relationship with it. They hear about trusting Allah, but they interpret it in a way that was never intended. Some begin to think that tawakkul means doing nothing. They believe that if they truly trust Allah, they don't need to take action. They sit back, wait, and expect results to come on their own. They avoid effort, avoid responsibility, and call it trust. But this is not tawakkul. This is passivity, and there is a big difference between the two. Real tawakkul is not the absence of effort, it is the presence of reliance alongside effort. It is when your hands are working, but your heart is trusting. It is when you take every possible step you can, and then you leave the outcome to Allah. The Prophet gave us a simple but powerful example to explain this balance. A man once asked him if he should leave his camel untied and trust Allah to protect it. The Prophet responded, "Tie your camel and trust in Allah." Think about the depth of that answer. He didn't say, just trust Allah. And he didn't say, just rely on your own actions. He combined both. Tie your camel, meaning, do your part. Take responsibility, make effort, use the means that Allah has given you, and then trust Allah, meaning, don't depend on those means. Don't believe they control the outcome. Know that even after your effort, everything is still in Allah's hands. This balance is where many people struggle. On one side, there are those who rely only on effort. They plan everything, control everything, and believe their success comes purely from what they do. Their hearts become attached to their actions, their strategies, their abilities. And when things go wrong, they collapse. Because everything they relied on has failed them. On the other side, there are those who rely only on trust, without action. They wait, hoping things will change, but they don't move. They make dua, but they don't take steps. They expect results, but they avoid effort. And when nothing changes, they feel stuck. But Islam teaches a middle path. A powerful balance. You act as if everything depends on your effort, but you believe in your heart that everything depends on Allah. You study for the exam, but you trust Allah with the result. You work but you trust Allah as your provider. You try to fix your life, but you trust Allah to guide your path. This balance brings a different kind of peace. Because you are no longer overwhelmed by responsibility. You do what you can, and you release what you cannot. You stop carrying the weight of outcomes. You stop blaming yourself for things beyond your control. You stop feeling like everything rests on your shoulders. Because you know, it doesn't. And at the same time, you don't fall into laziness or inaction. You understand that effort is part of your trust. That moving forward is part of your faith. This is the beauty of true tawakkul. It keeps you active, but not anxious. It keeps you striving, but not stressed. It keeps you hopeful, but not dependent on outcomes. So if you've ever felt confused about what it means to trust Allah, remember this simple principle. Do your part, completely. Trust Allah, completely, and leave the results, completely. Because when effort and trust come together, that is when tawakkul becomes real. At this point, the question becomes simple, but very important. How do you actually live this ayah every single day? Because it's one thing to feel inspired while listening, but it's another thing to carry that feeling into your real life. Into your routine, your decisions, your struggles, your quiet moments. So let's bring this ayah into something practical. Something you can hold onto daily. A simple system that turns this understanding into action. 3 steps. Not complicated, not overwhelming, but powerful if you live by them. The first step is to make your effort. Whatever you are going through right now, don't run away from it. Don't ignore your responsibilities. Take action. If you are struggling financially, work, apply, try. If you are confused about your future, seek knowledge, take steps, move forward. If something in your life is broken, try to fix what you can. Because effort is part of your faith. But here is the key. While you are making that effort, don't let your heart depend on it. Don't believe that your effort alone will create the result. Your effort is your responsibility. The outcome is not. Then comes the second step. Make dua. Not just once, not just when things feel urgent, but consistently. Speak to Allah, tell Him what is in your heart. Your fears, your hopes, your confusion, your desires. Nothing is too small, nothing is too big. Dua is where your trust becomes personal. It is where you admit that you need Allah. That you cannot do this alone. That even after all your effort, you still rely on Him for the result. And don't rush your dua. Feel it, pause in it, let your heart be when you call upon Him. Because sometimes, the peace you are searching for begins in the moment you raise your hands. And then comes the third step, the hardest one. Leave the result to Allah. After you have done your part, after you have made your dua, you let go. Not in a careless way, but in a trusting way. You stop overthinking every possible outcome. You stop trying to control what happens next. You stop replaying scenarios in your mind again and again. Because at that point, it is no longer in your hands. It is in Allah's hands. And this is where real peace begins. Because most of the anxiety you feel does not come from effort, it comes from attachment to results. It comes from trying to control what you were never meant to control. When you truly let go, your heart becomes lighter. Even if the situation has not changed yet, something inside you starts to change. You feel a quiet calm, a sense of relief, a trust that settles deep within your chest. And to keep this mindset alive, build a simple daily habit. Every morning, and every night, repeat this ayah. Slowly, with reflection, and whoever puts their trust in Allah, He is sufficient for them. Don't just say it, remind your heart of it, especially in moments when you feel overwhelmed. When fear starts to creep in, when your thoughts begin to spiral, bring yourself back to this ayah, again and again, because the more you repeat it, the more it begins to shape how you think, how you react, how you see your life. Over time, it stops being just words. It becomes a way of living. So start small, make your effort, make your dua, and leave the result to Allah. And watch how slowly, quietly, your life begins to change. Now, slow down, take a deep breath, let everything you've heard so far settle quietly in your heart. This is not a moment to rush. This is a moment to reflect. Because sometimes, the most powerful change doesn't come from learning something new. It comes from finally facing what's already inside you. So ask yourself, honestly, what are you holding on to right now, that you need to give to Allah? Is it a fear you keep replaying in your mind? A worry about the future that never seems to leave you? A situation you're trying so hard to control, but it keeps slipping out of your hands? Pause, think about it, because deep down, you already know what it is. That one thing that keeps your heart restless. That one burden you carry with you every day. Now ask yourself something deeper. Why are you still holding on to it? Is it because you feel like if you let go, everything will fall apart? Is it because you think no one else can handle it the way you can? Or is it because trusting fully feels unfamiliar, even a little scary? Sit with that feeling for a moment. Let the silence speak, because this is where real change begins. Not when you hear words, but when you connect them to your own life. Now imagine this. What would your heart feel like if you truly let it go? If you placed that worry, that fear, that uncertainty, completely in Allah's hands? No overthinking, no constant replay, no trying to control every outcome. Just trust, just surrender, just peace. Can you imagine that? That lightness in your chest, that quiet calm in your mind, that feeling of not having to carry everything on your own anymore. Because the truth is, you were never meant to carry it all. You were never meant to have all the answers. You were never meant to control every part of your life. And maybe that's why you feel so tired. Because you've been trying to do something your heart was never designed to do. So right now, in this moment, let it go, even if it's just a little. Even if it's just the beginning. Whisper it in your heart. Ya Allah, I can't carry this anymore. I give it to you. Pause, feel that, because that moment, that small act of surrender, is more powerful than you think. And as you sit here, let this truth settle deeply within you. Allah is enough. Not just in theory, not just in words, but in your life, in your struggle, in your uncertainty, in everything you are facing right now. So whatever you've been holding on to, give it to Allah, and allow your heart to finally rest. Now, reflect on everything you've heard, not just with your mind, but with your heart. Because this ayah is not here to change your situation overnight. It's here to change you, your perspective, your understanding, your relationship with what you're going through. See, many of us are waiting for life to become easy, waiting for problems to disappear, waiting for everything to finally make sense. But what if that's not the point? What if the real transformation isn't in your circumstances, but in how you see them? Because this ayah doesn't promise that life will suddenly become perfect. It doesn't promise that every hardship will instantly go away. It doesn't promise that you will always get what you want. But it gives you something far greater. It gives you certainty. It gives you stability. It gives you a kind of peace that no situation can take away. A peace that isn't dependent on outcomes. A peace that doesn't disappear when things go wrong. A peace that stays, even in the middle of uncertainty. And that's the shift. That's the transformation. When you stop asking, why is this happening to me? And you start believing, Allah knows why this is happening for me. When you stop trying to control every detail, and start trusting the one who already controls everything. When your heart no longer shakes, even if your world does. Listen carefully to this. Peace doesn't come when life is perfect, it comes when your trust in Allah is, asterisk. Let that sink in, because there are people who have everything, yet their hearts are restless. And there are people who are struggling deeply, yet their hearts are at peace. What's the difference? It's not their situation, it's their trust. It's knowing that whatever Allah has written is never without purpose, never without wisdom, never without mercy, even if you don't understand it right now, even if it hurts, even if it takes time. Because sometimes, the delay is the blessing. Sometimes, the hardship is the protection. Sometimes, the thing you're asking for is the very thing that would have broken you. And Allah, in His mercy, held it back. So this ayah changes everything. It changes how you wake up in the morning. It changes how you face your fears. It changes how you deal with uncertainty. It changes how you carry your pain. Because now, you're not carrying it alone. Now, you're walking through life with trust, with certainty, with reliance on Allah, and that changes everything. So don't just listen to this ayah. Live it, let it reshape your thoughts. Let it calm your heart. Let it guide your decisions. Because once your trust in Allah becomes firm, nothing in this world can truly shake you. Not fear, not loss, not uncertainty. Because your peace is no longer tied to this dunya. It's tied to Allah, and that is the transformation. Now, as we come to the end of this reminder, slow down, let your heart absorb everything. Because this message is not just something you listen to, it's something you carry with you after this video ends. Remember this: Allah is enough. In your pain, in your confusion, in your waiting, in your unanswered questions, He is enough, even when nothing else makes sense. So whatever you're going through right now, whatever is weighing heavy on your chest, whatever fear is keeping you awake at night, give it to Allah, fully, not partially, not with hesitation, but with complete trust. Because the moment you truly rely on Him is the moment your heart begins to feel peace. Now, let's repeat this ayah together. Slowly, with reflection, with presence. Asterisk. And whoever puts their trust in Allah, then He is sufficient for them. Asterisk asterisk. Pause. Let it sink in. Again. Asterisk. And whoever puts their trust in Allah, then He is sufficient for them. Asterisk asterisk. Feel those words, because this is not just a verse. It's a promise from the one who never breaks His word. So hold on to it, in your good days, and especially in your hardest days. And remember this, as you move forward in life, you are not in control, and that's where your peace begins. Asterisk. Let go, trust Allah, and allow your heart to rest. If this reminder touched your heart, take a moment to support this message. Thumbs up, like this video. Bell, subscribe for more powerful reminders. Sent mail, share it with someone who needs it today. And in the comments, write this from your heart. Asterisk. Allah is enough for me. Asterisk. Because sometimes, one sentence of truth can change everything. May Allah ease your, strengthen your Iman, and fill your life with peace, trust, and barakah. Ameen.